Joe Iannetti, I-A-N-N-E-T-T-I. I am from 177 Springs Road, Georgetown. Zip. 15043. The risk of being redundant, I'm sorry. My name is Joe Iannetti. I'm the director of the Western Area Career and Technology Center, located on State Route 519 in Chartiers Township. We are adjacent to the Mark West cryogenic facility there. I personally grew up in Hanover Township, Washington County, spent most of my life there. I'm here this evening to testify in support of the planned expansion of the Mark West compressor facility located in Smith Township. As the director of the Western Area Career and Technology Center, I have found Mark West to be a good neighbor. We have not had issues with their operation and find them to be a positive force in our Washington County community. I can tell you the Marcellus Shale industry is good for our region and holds more than just a promise of good life for our kids. I see our young WACTC graduates getting good jobs that pay well, and we reward them early in their working years. I see our youth experiencing their lifetimes the vibrant economy that some of us remember from our youth. Locally, I'm sorry. I also see the benefits of this industry for tax-supported institutions because I personally leased my gas rights on my own property, and it was nice to receive the compensation. But I know how much of that compensation went directly to federal, state, local, and school taxes. In essence, we all benefit. The natural gas powered compressors are clean and efficient machines. Moving the gas to the processing facility is an important part of this industry. It helps us locally by raising the amount of locally produced gas that's delivered and then later sold. That process raises the royalties paid to local residents. In closing, I want to make sure that In closing, I want to make clear that I have seen firsthand the benefits our region is receiving from this industry. It is my personal belief that things are going to continually get better, and that young people are going to be able to thrive and raise families as a direct result of this industry and stay here when they grow up. As to Mark West, I know these people, I trust these people, and I support their planned expansion of the Smith County compressor facility.
C-O-P-T-I-S. I'm a community organizer with the Center for Coalfield Justice. The Center for Coalfield Justice, or CCJ, would like to thank you for the opportunity to comment on the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's Notice of an Intent to Plan approval for this Mark West compressor station, which will install and operate 8 additional compressor stations and increase the capacity of a triethylene glycol dehydrator. The Center for Coalfield Justice is a local nonprofit in Washington, PA, and we work with residents in Washington and Greene counties. We're a membership organization with a mission to improve policy, regulation for the oversight of fossil fuel extraction and use, to educate, empower, and organize coalfield citizens, and to protect public and environmental health. We have over 1,100 members and supporters, with 24 of those members residing within the general area of the Smith compressor station. We would like to take this time to endorse the comments submitted by the Clean Air Council on this notice of intent to issue the plan approval for the Smith compressor station. CCJ is concerned about the plan approval for Mark West Smith compressor station because this is another example in a recent trend of facilities submitting plans that rise to the very edge of emission levels that require a major source determination, avoiding the heightened permit requirements and safer control technologies that comply with that level of pollution. This is an industry-wide pattern that demonstrates the priority placed on ease of permitting rather than protection of the health of the community and environment. This region of Washington County has many other compressor stations, processing facilities, emitting significant levels of harmful air pollution, and the Smith compressor station is cited to be one of the largest in the county and still remains under major source determination. The emissions of the other facilities tied into Smith compressor station by transport should be aggregated and included in the plan approval. Some of our members have expressed the following concerns. Concerns about their property values of homes near compressor stations will fall, and that it will become increasingly difficult to sell homes and land in the area, that new families will not want to move in and settle down, This pattern can be seen across Greene and Washington County, where abandoned homes and businesses have become a regular occurrence due to heavy extractive industries. They also have concerns about cumulative health impacts due to emissions from this compressor station as one of many natural gas-related facilities and coal activities in the region. While the review memo produced by the department asserts that modeling results show risk from formaldehyde at levels below human health benchmarks, this provides little reassurance for those individuals living near compressor stations who will be exposed to emissions from known carcinogens. In order to protect the health of the citizens of Washington County, the DEP should enforce the most rigorous air monitoring possible at the site. MarkWest should use the best technologies available and not just the minimal requirements by the state. And the voices of citizens of Washington County should be given higher consideration than the voice of industry. The long-term welfare of the members of the community will be impacted long after MarkWest and its peer companies have left the area to pursue other endeavors. Thank you.
I want to thank the DEP and MarkWest for this hearing, and I'm here on behalf of Robinson Township. I'm the solicitor for Robinson Township, and we do have a working relationship with MarkWest. We deal with them on a semi-annual basis for different issues throughout the township. This compressor station is going to be very close to Robinson Township. It is pretty much on the border of Smith Township and Robinson. And the citizens of Robinson Township put together a petition and brought it to the Board of Supervisors. In turn, I wrote a letter to the DEP on January 11th asking to be part of this hearing. So again, if this was part of the hearing process in response, we appreciate that. The petition that was sent to the Board of Supervisors by neighbors on Maple Grove Road, which is fairly close to the compressor site, about approximately 20 signatures that I'll submit to DEP. And the petition states in part, as our township supervisors and an agency for the environment, we implore you to work diligently to see that the site is regulated to the highest standards of minimizing noise and pollution of any kind. Our health and property values are at stake if this pump station is allowed to emit so much noise and pollution. So that is the petition that we received and is really the catalyst for being here this evening for some of the commentary and testimony. In reviewing the issue, Robinson Township looked at whether or not electric compressors would make sense at this facility and talked to West Penn Power, who indicated that three-phase electric was available in the location. Of course, electric compressors would severely reduce emissions coming from these particular compressors. And due to the fact that these compressors are going to be here for a significant period of time, the township believes and the citizens in the area believe that if these compressors are going in, that the DEP first exhaust that electric is not feasible at this site. And it's my understanding, I don't have it with me, the Smith Township ordinance also provides that if electric is available, that the compressors should be electric. One of the other issues that we have is the people in this particular area live in low-lying levels. Because residents in Robinson live in these low-lying areas, a number of the chemicals, the VTEXs, the benzene, toluenes, xylenes, and not so much the ethylbenzene, which is not as heavy, tend to lay in low-lying areas. And one of the questions that we typically ask and don't see, and maybe MarkWest does this, and I apologize, gentlemen, I didn't see the beginning, but whether or not the DEP has required any air modeling. And while we understand the various emission sources that will come off and what you're looking at from a permit standpoint, the concern of our residents is, will it reach them and in what quantities? Does the permit take into consideration wind direction, wind speed, and topography? This information will affect dilution of toxins, heights to which toxins, and how far the toxins will travel. That knowledge will be significant for the individuals that live within proximity because, as the previous speaker spoke to, there are known cancer-causing agents, and again, depending on how far and how much is there, it could affect these individuals. Also, the township wants to know how the EPA alleged that MarkWest failed to comply with federal clean air regulations at their compressor sites in Pennsylvania, yet DEP did not identify the problems and issued air permits with those existing issues. We'd like that issue resolved. The township also wants the DEP to consider mandating replacing the glycol dehydrators with desiccant dryers. And again, gentlemen, if you spoke to that issue earlier, I came late. The EPA has put out a study it's titled Lessons Learned from Natural Gas Star Partners an EPA publication. In the executive summary, glycol dehydrators vent methane, volatile organic compounds, and hazardous air pollutants, HAPs, to the atmosphere from the glycol regenerator, and also bleed natural gas from pneumatic control devices. Now, it's my understanding you're using triethylene glycol. You guys can't respond, I believe, at the dehydrator. This process this is the EPA, this process wastes gas, costs money, and contributes to local air quality problems. Natural gas star partners have found that replacing glycol dehydrators with desiccant dehydrators reduces methane, VOCs, and HAP emissions by 99%, and also reduces operating and maintenance costs. I'll submit this particular study, which was provided to us by the ATSDR, the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry of the EPA, being provided this information from Texas, where they're looking at trying to make sure that this is switched over. Also, my understanding through either DEP studies or EPA studies, Washington County exceeds the 2008 8-hour National Ambient Air Quality Standards by the EPA. And lastly, there's an additional document that I would like to submit on behalf of the township and the residents, which I believe the DEP, and most importantly you may have as well, put out a press release on, estimation of regional air quality damages from Marcellus Shale natural gas extraction in Pennsylvania. It's my recollection that Secretary Crancer and or your office put out a release how the air quality in Pennsylvania as a whole seemed to have gotten better since 2008, attributed in part perhaps to burning gas instead of using coal for electric plants. I'm going to just read part of the abstract and highlight part of the sections that I would like the DEP to respond to. This letter provides a first-order estimate of conventional air pollutant emissions and the monetary value of the associated environmental and health damages from the extraction of unconventional shale gas in Pennsylvania. Region-wide estimates damage range from $7.2 to $32 million for 2011. The emissions from Pennsylvania shale gas extraction represented only a few percent of total statewide emissions, and the resulting statewide damages were less than those estimated for each of the state's largest coal-based power plants. And I think that was part of the press release that the DEP put out. It goes on, however. On the other hand, in counties where activities are concentrated, nitric oxide emissions, I believe Mark West placed on the board that they have NOx emissions, from all shale gas activities were 20 to 40 times higher than allowable for a single minor source, despite the fact that individual new gas facilities generally fell below the major source threshold for NOx. Most emissions relate to ongoing activities, gas production, and compression. On page 5 of the document, there is a table, and the table is titled Table 6, Estimates of Regional Air Pollution Damages from Pennsylvania Extraction Activities in 2011. Under Activities for Compressor Stations, it says time frame ongoing, the total regional damage for 2011, and again, to take you back, the damages that they're looking at for this particular study is the monetary value of the associated environmental and health damages from the extraction of shale gas in Pennsylvania. On number 4 of that chart, compressor stations ongoing, the total regional damage was $4 million to $24 million. The study goes on to set forth that compressor station activities alone represent 60 to 75% of all extraction-associated damages. Now, lastly, what I'll leave you with, and as I pointed out already, Washington County already has pollution problems. Their air got worse since 2008, it didn't get better. And in this particular study, which the DEP relied upon, it sets forth, because the relative damages would tend to be larger in the counties where shale gas extraction activities are concentrated, where population is relatively high, and where air quality is already a concern, it is also important to consider the county level damage. For example, Washington County had the 5th largest number of wells, 156 in 2011. But the result of the highest damages in the state, estimated between 1.2 and 8.3 million. Damage in Washington County represented 20% of the statewide damages from extraction activity. And while not typical of 2011 development, this example illustrates the potential impact of extraction when located in relatively populated areas. In Mount Pleasant, Smith, Robinson Township, there is a lot of activity. Since the DEP does not see fit to aggregate when they do these air permits, I think this study is consistent with what happens. We want to make sure that DEP is not only protecting the residents in Robinson Township, the residents in Smith Township, but Washington County as a whole. We don't want the whole state to be better from an emissions standpoint while Washington County bears the brunt and gets progressively worse. Thank you.
That was 9 minutes.
Winicki, 9646, Steubenville Pike, Boulder, Pennsylvania, 15019. I'm actually the property owner that's adjacent north of the site. And I'd like to add some comments, being brief, of course, in support for this. Mark West, all my interactions with them, the good faith they've shown, and any time I had a question, they answered it, and they were upfront, open, and transparent. And I believe that the PA-DEP does a great job, and not giving in to corporations, people, or anybody. And they're there really to protect us as citizens. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have these events, and it's a good reminder that democracy is a hands-on sport. And I think everybody, no matter what side you're on, I appreciate everybody coming out. But again, just wanted to offer support for the project, being a adjacent property owner. And I guess with the remaining portion of my time, I'd like to appropriate to our last two speakers who didn't provide their addresses.
Marty Reagan, RAGAN, 47 Sugar Camp Road in Belleville, Pennsylvania, 15312. I'm a business owner in the Smith Township area, and I've worked with Mark West and Range Resources for many years. I know they're environmentally conscious, but my main concern is everybody needs to work. And I believe that we need the natural gas, and if Mark West doesn't provide it, somebody has to provide it. It's brought much money to the area that's needed, brought many jobs to the area, and I, for one, want it to stay. And I believe that we need to look at other, if there was a power source that we could pull out of somebody's park and throw here and say we don't need natural gas or oil or anything else, it would be wonderful. But until somebody comes up with that, we don't have a whole bunch of choices. And some of the scare tactics that I've heard over the years about the natural gas, and I'm not a scientist or rocket scientist, but when we look in the area, one of the biggest things that concerns me when I wake up in the morning is right next door here, about 17 miles away, we have a nuclear reactor that could blow up and be a Chernobyl, a 3 Mile Island, and nobody seems to be concerned. I'm not concerned, I don't live in fear, but a lot of fear tactics, and I think they're unjust. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Sir, state your name and your address.
Harry Sabatassi, that's Harry-Sabatassi, 1405 Smith Township State Road, 15021 zip code. I'm here without a prepared speech. That is my downfall in life, I believe, that I don't prepare a speech. I do one with a knee-jerk reaction. And this is one that I'm going to do right now. It scares the heck out of me when I pick up the Washington Observer and I read something like, I think the facility, in particular of shale equipment in general, has a significant impact on climate change. Walker said. Is Mr. Walker here? But nevertheless, this has methane has 105 times more potent than carbon dioxide. This scared the heck out of me. I happen to be a member of the Burgettstown Area School Board. I have
1,300 reasons why I'm here is to protect my children, my grandchildren, and all my neighbors and all my friends and who are connected with this. My question today would be to the DEP, first of all, what are you doing to protect me when one of these stations gets right behind my house and I have a breathing problem? Who's going to take care of me when I can no longer breathe? And what is the DEP doing to protect me? Because I've had other encounters with the DEP on bad water at our school, and they did absolutely nothing. So I want to know what the DEP is doing to protect me. And in as far as Mark West, I think, like all the speakers said, I think they do a good job in providing jobs for people. They also do a good thing in providing funding for people. But I'd like to ask Mark West a question. What are you doing to provide any help for me or anyone else that has a breathing problem and we find out that the climate or the air that we're breathing is no longer up to par? There's a situation in our county that I'd like to compare with Mark West and the DEP both. We have a casino up here. It provides all the people in Washington County. Last year, I believe it was $13 million that they put aside to correct what wrongdoing they were doing. Now, there's no one can tell me that Mark West is not going to make a mistake. Neither is the DEP going to make a mistake. Who's going to correct these mistakes? I think it's high time we, the people, force whomever is imposing on our life and ask them the question, what am I going to do if I do have a breathing problem and the air is polluted? Who do I see? Are you going to provide funding to correct what wrongdoing that you do? That would be my main question today for all of you people. And in as far as your presentation was concerned, I don't know how many people in this room knew anything about methane and all of these different chemicals. I personally don't know enough about them to be very particular or make public comment in saying something that I don't know enough about. But I think it's Sam held time to us to get together and force these people to put in funding for us, similar to what the casino is doing. I'm familiar with that because I ran the place one time as a manager. So that's going to be the end of my little comments, and I'd like to know when and how we're going to get funding for what wrongdoing they're doing. I thank you very much.
TEITZ 111 Zeta Drive, Pittsburgh, PA 15238. First of all, I'd like to commend everybody for coming out and being involved in our community. I'm a business representative for the operating engineers, heavy equipment operators. Mark West provides many good paying jobs for the people I work for. These are family sustaining jobs. And it's not just those jobs, it's the support jobs in the other industries. It's the jobs that are created on Main Street. Everybody benefits from the economic activity, as many of you well know. This project meets the regulatory guidelines. The operating engineers support it. We recommend that it be approved. Thank you.
Next.
Rosenberg, 555 Davidson Road, Rhinestone, Pennsylvania. I object to the issuance of plan approval 63-00968A on the following grounds. 1. The application compliance form failed to disclose information about prior violations and safety problems at other similar Mark West facilities. The compliance form, even as amended, fails to list numerous DEP violations. These are attached as an appendix to my written testimony. Violation ID 666211, Three Brothers on 43213 is important. because Mark West has offered Three Brothers as a prior permit that is almost identical to Smith. If Mark West cannot operate Three Brothers according to spec, why should we believe they will for Smith? On October 13th, 2011, a fire broke out at Mark West's dryer booster station, causing significant damage. Mark West alleges in a $1.1 million lawsuit filed against Enerflex Energy Systems that the fire was caused by a crack in a threaded nipple that was attached to a pressure relief valve. Pressure relief is an important issue in evaluating fugitive emissions. File review materials show no sign DEP evaluated this issue. On October 19, 2011, Mark West conducted a tour of its Welling compressor station at which I was personally present. A nearby resident complained of malodors perceived from her property. Mr. Greg Sullivan listened to the description and said that was probably the dehydrator. I pointed out that malodors outside the property boundary are a permit violation. Mr. Sullivan replied, quote, "I know that," end quote. Other complaints about Welling had been made to the Buffalo Township supervisors. File review materials show no evidence DEP has evaluated this. If DEP is only finding out about this issue this evening, that is a reflection on DEP's profoundly flawed public participation process in only today holding a public hearing for a compressor station plan approval in Washington County. PTE calculations do not contain a margin of error. Greenhouse gas GHG PTE analysis does not disclose what figure is used for relative CH4/CO2 greenhouse effect potency. This uncertainty could push the GHG PTE across the major source threshold. As of 2010, EPA was using 21 for the CH4 to CO2 ratio. Recently, however, EPA has suggested the correct number is 25. This uncertainty calls into complete question the reliability of the PTE for Smith's GHG emissions. Applying 25 over 21 to the listed GHG PTE of 91,607 TPY yields 109,056 TPY, which would make Smith Compressor Station a major source for GHG. 3, NAAQL's health harm analysis is incomplete and defective regarding potential exposure of nearby residents to acute effect toxic substance disease. PTE calculations are listed as total tons per year with no way to extrapolate probability of acute exposure to toxic substance diseases, as have been reported by many compressor station neighbors. The file review memo at pages 13 to 14 ostensibly addresses this issue, discussing a landfill industry gas-fired engine study. This analysis is flawed for the following reasons. A, the study is not cited in a form the public can access. B, the fuel supply for the engine in question does not have a relevant natural gas liquid content. C, the study was supplied by industry and has not been peer-reviewed. D, the study has not been subject to public comment. E, the study only addresses formaldehyde and not, for example, benzene. Benzene is known to become dangerous at 0.5 parts per million. F, the study takes no account of dehydrators. 4, there is no BAT requirement for leak detection and repair, LDAR, e.g. floor photography, even to the level of current revision GP5. The issue of BAT for LDAR has come up in numerous previous compressor station public comments. Floor photography is now explicitly recognized by DEP as BAT for leak detection in newly revised GP5 section J2. Quote, at a minimum, the owner or operator of the facility shall on a quarterly basis use forward-looking infrared, FLIR cameras, or other approved leak detection monitoring devices approved by the Department for the Detection of Fugitive Leaks, end quote. Where is this language in Plan Approval 6300968A? FLIR inspection once per quarter is not often enough. By not mentioning FLIR inspection at all in 6300968A, DEP is not following its own guidelines for leak detection BAT. 5, emissions limitations during startup, shutdown, and malfunction are inadequate. To a nearby resident, emissions are emissions. There is no difference in the suffering caused by air pollution between emissions from normal operations and the same kind of emissions from startup, shutdown, or malfunction, including pressure relief, see point 1 above, blowdown, fire, or explosion.
ISTA. I live at 28 Johnston Road, McDonald, PA, which is in Mount Pleasant Township, 15057. First, let me be transparent in my statement. My wife and I both own property in Mount Pleasant Township that is in a gas-producing unit. Our family business is located in Smith Township in Slowham, PA. Our business focus is to supply safety and maintenance products to the natural gas industry. And yes, Mark West Energy is a customer of ours. Their business has increased from 5 employees to 10 employees in the last 5 years. I think that they're worthy and upstanding people when we work with them. I do go to the compressor sites, and I work at the compressor sites from time to time, and I see what's going on at the compressor sites. And I got to tell you, from an emission standpoint with the engines, they work very hard to keep their emissions under control, and they do their own testing so that they can keep their emissions low. They don't wait just for that once a year to come around for their testing. But let me read you a couple of things out of some excerpts out of newspapers. This came from the Washington Observer, Associated Press, Washington, D.C. President Barack Obama choice to lead the Energy Department pledged to increase the use of natural gas Tuesday as a way to combat climate change, even as the nation seeks to boost domestic energy production. Ernest Monzai, and I apologize for the name, is a physics professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and said, a stunning increase in production of domestic natural gas in the recent years was nothing less than revolutionary, that it has led in the reduction of emissions of carbon dioxide and other gases that cause global warming. Another article was in the Wall Street Journal written by Russell Gold. It is April 19th of 2013. It says, rise in U.S. gas production fuels unexpected plunge in emissions. The U.S. Carbon dioxide emissions have fallen dramatically in recent years, in large part because the country is making more electricity with natural gas instead of coal. Energy-related emissions of carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas that is widely believed to contribute to global warming, has fallen 12% between the years of 2005 and 2012. And at their lowest level, we are now at the lowest level since 1994. According to a recent estimate by the Energy Information Administration, which is the statistical arm of the U.S. Department of Energy. While other factors, including a sluggish U.S. economy and increased energy efficiency, have contributed to the decline in carbon emissions from factories on automobiles and power plants, many experts believe that the switch from coal to natural gas for electricity generation has been the biggest factor. Carbon dioxide emissions account for about 84% of the greenhouse gases, while methane, the main ingredient in natural gas, is only 8.8%, according to the recent Environmental Protection Agency. Now, I like to try and keep things simple, so I brought a little chart for you to see. We, the United States, is leading in emission reduction since 2005 to 2011. For those of you that can see this chart, this is us at the bottom, the U.S. We've reduced 509 million metric tons. In comparison, here is China, 3,252. So sometimes you got to put things into perspective of where we're at. And we can't get these reductions, as it says in the articles, without natural gas. So I'm here to support the expansion of the project. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to share some comments. First off, if I could just add, Harry, thanks to Act 13 and many of the provisions tied into there, the Commonwealth and the municipalities received over $200 million last year alone in direct payments to from the natural gas exploration that's gone on. Washington County itself received $13 million between the county and the communities that are part of this. So, and that's going to occur probably each and every year. It anticipates to be pretty much the same figure. So there are direct dollars as well as the indirect dollars that are coming about. So we did put those provisions in there to make sure that a lot of the concerns you brought forward would be recognized. Just wanted to share that with you before I had the chance to start. But as a senator of the 46th district, where we're all sitting, encompasses Washington, Greene, Beaver County, Allegheny, and parts of Westmoreland, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts on the air quality plan approval of 6300968A for Mark West Liberty Midstream Resources LLC. Washington County, as everyone knows, is located at the epicenter of the Marcellus Shale natural gas play. I am very proud of the role of the development of this invaluable natural resource. Washington County was home to the first Marcellus well and the first horizontal well. We are ranked first in the greater Pittsburgh region in both natural gas wells drilled and drilling permits issued in 2012. Fourth in Pennsylvania for natural gas wells and second in the state for number of drilling permits that have been issued. Many of our local businesses, as you just heard, and workers are at the forefront of the natural gas revolution, while far more of them are engaged in supporting roles of this industry as well. Nearly every one of us in this room can probably name a family member or a friend who is in one way or another linked to the development of natural gas in this region. Because of the work performed in this region, national energy independence is now a realistic goal for our country. The direct economic benefits of natural gas production are far-reaching, well beyond the pads and compressor stations we're seeing here in Washington County. The increased use of natural gas and natural gas liquids as an energy source for manufacturing goods will continue to offer many opportunities for our region's skilled workforce. And while we're very familiar with the economic benefits associated with the Marcellus Shale, an often underreported advantage is the environmental benefit of using natural gas in not only an industrial setting, but also now as we move forward in the transportation application. Increased use of natural gas in our homes, vehicles, and the manufacturing process is also improving our air quality. According to a recent U.S. Environmental Protection Agency report, greenhouse gas emissions have dropped to their lowest level in nearly 20 years, due in part to the increased use of natural gas. Here in Pennsylvania, also according to the DEP, air quality has improved in recent years thanks to the increased use of natural gas. Emissions from the natural gas industry are only a small part of the overall emissions from all point sources in the Commonwealth. This trend can only help to further improve air quality in the future, not only in our region, but in the nation as a whole. The DEP's air quality plan approvals include requirements for emission limits, testing, work practice, monitoring, record keeping, and reporting. I understand that in the emissions limits in the proposed plan approval from Mark West, it would be maintained at their facility as a minor source of emissions. This is important not only to myself, but also to the residents, I believe, that live and work in the area. To address the development of the industry in the Commonwealth, there is now a new air quality permit for compressor stations, which became effective in early February 2013, subsequent to Mark West's application for plan approval for the Smith compressor station. The new permit sets very strict limits on emissions from engines at the compressor stations. According to the DEP, the new permit reduces emissions limits by as much as 90% for certain engines at these compressor stations. The new permit also requires applicants to utilize best available technology to meet the emission limits. One of the things that I made sure was put into the Act 13 was the ability to recapture emissions as they're coming from these from the process. While the plan we are here to discuss for approval from Mark West, I understand that the engines and the controls proposed by them qualify as the best available technology, and therefore they do meet these strict emission requirements. At the local level, I understand Mark West has received also the necessary approvals from Smith Township for the expansion of the station. As an elected official and a long-life resident of Washington County, I believe that the safety, prosperity, and well-being of the region is of utmost concern. The Marcellus natural gas reserves present us with an extraordinary economic opportunity. However, while the environment and the economy benefits associated with the increase of natural gas are significant, we must also be sure that the source is developed responsibly and that any negative impacts upon our region are minimized. To the best of my knowledge, the proposed expansion of the Smith compressor station meets the expectation as well as all the applicable state and local requirements. Appreciate the opportunity to offer these comments, and I do believe you have a written version of it. Thank you.
142 Paris Road, Bella, Pennsylvania, 15312. I own a business in Smith Township, Alex E. Paris Contracting Company, and we do business with Mark West. I'd like to testify in support of the compressor station for the following reasons. First of all, we have been a vendor for Mark West since they first arrived in the area. I can testify from firsthand knowledge that they do things in a proper, correct, and absolutely environmentally safe way. They have from day one. They strive to be at the edge of technology, and that they do things in methods, in ways that go beyond what we see from other midstream companies. In other words, they're cutting edge. But I think the best way to put this in perspective for me is to describe what I did yesterday. Through junior achievement, I got to teach science class at Burgestown to the 8th grade class. And specifically, it was about the Marcellus Shale. And what we talked about was there are opportunities for jobs now in this area. We're sitting in an area that for many years has been blighted. We're behind a slate dump by a creek that ran orange. That was before many regulations existed. Today, we have the DEP, the EPA, and a whole bunch of other people regulating everything that all these people are doing. It's not like it was, believe me. We grew up in Avella, Burgestown. A lot of you people here are from this area. It's a whole different world than when the smokestacks were running on the hills, mines were discharging water to the creeks, and a lot of bad things happened. Today, the regulations go way beyond, probably in many cases, what they need to be to protect us as citizens. I can't emphasize enough the economic impact of what we're doing. Not only that, the impact this natural gas has on a worldwide basis. We've been relying on foreign oil for too long. If we spend $100 at the gas pump, $80 of that money goes to probably to the Mideast, and those people don't like us. So why wouldn't we try to be energy dependent? In the year 2000, 16% of the electricity generated in this country came from gas. Today it's 30%. 10 years from now, it'll probably be 50 to 60%. Someone testified from Coalfield Justice. We've gotten to the point where we can't burn coal, no matter how clean the technology has become, because the EPA is regulated to the point that they can't function. We have natural gas because of the new technology here. Now we're trying to figure out how we can take and regulate it to the point where it won't function. We might as well just shut off the lights and go home. Especially in this area, we know better than anybody else. We've been impacted by mining, we've been impacted by pollution. This was an industrial area. And you guys, a lot of you people here all saw this area die. Now we have an opportunity to do it the right way. Not the way it was done, the right way. Because of the new technology, because of the commitment, and because people are different today and they approach things from a different way. They do things with thinking about their kids and what the future is. And that's what this is all about. We can do everything in the world if we try and we work together. And believe me, the regulations from what I know about them are tough. And Mark West is a first-class company. And in closing, I'd like to state that I'm in strong support of the compressor station, and that I'm not going to submit any written comments, but thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Porter, S-E-A-N-P-O-R-T-E-R, P.O. Box 275, Atlasburg, PA, 15004. And I'm here to testify in support of the Mark West Compressor Station. The PAP Industries, we're right up the road on Route 18. We're an environmental service provider to Mark West, providing vacuum truck service and waste recycling services to 20 plus compressor stations in the live in Hickory. I'm a neighbor to one or two of their compressor stations there. I'm a Fort Cherry graduate, and I want to touch a little bit on what Alex was saying earlier, and that's it took me before I was out of high school to realize that Fort Cherry, Avella, Burgettstown all play in the Black Hills Conference, and I didn't know what that was until I got out of high school, but that's all a result of coal mining. And the intersection of 22 and 980, I believe, holds the world's largest mine tailing pile. So as we sit in here and debate parts per million on emissions and regulations, we might want to remember that there's tons per million just up the road. They've been a great neighbor. I live in Hickory, and we've worked with them since day one that they've been here, and can speak highly of them as a business partner. And they're first class. Recycling is always their number one option. They tend to, it's probably gonna get me in trouble. They tend to pay more to get rid of things because of that, but they always err on the side of caution with waste materials. So they're first class. Thank you.
My name is Clint Foley, 200 Foley Road. I'm glad I got to speak after Mr. Cross. I have seen two different kinds of compressor stations. This is terrible. He's right, it's noisy. I've been to Mark West compressor stations. I didn't know it was running. They do it right. I'm a operating engineer. I'm glad to see you over here. I work for Alex Parrish. I'm a retired mechanic. I'd like to see this gas business progress. Naturally, I'm interested in getting some royalty. And I have 4 grandchildren working for the gas company. 3 of them bought houses last year. They couldn't have done it with Burger King. Yes, I'd like to see it done right. Because what I've seen Mark West do, they try.
I live at 16 Patricia Drive. It's PETRICCA, Burgettstown, Pennsylvania, 15821. I'm a lifelong resident here in Smith Township, and I'm here in support of the oil and gas industry. My family has lived here for 93 years. Through that, they have seen industries come and industries go, such as deep mining, strip mining, mills, machine shops, etc. So now we are blessed to have a new industry. And with that, we have the opportunity for jobs for us and for our children as well. Some say we don't want it. Some say we don't need it. But have you looked around lately? If you haven't, you need to. I'm a commercial real estate agent, and I never in my wildest dreams thought this oil and gas industry would be part of my world. I have helped over 30 companies move their businesses to Washington County, and with that came jobs. I repeat, jobs. Better yet, the jobs that required you to pass a drug test. These companies don't mess around. They want good, responsible people they can trust. These companies have also helped stimulate our economy. They have purchased hundreds of new vehicles from dealers throughout western Pennsylvania. Retail shops have increased business. The auto parts stores, convenience stores, restaurants, hotels, etc. Does anyone here not know someone that works or has profited in some way from this new industry? Before the Marcellus Shale came, I sold so many family farms due to the fact that the farmers could not afford to keep them. But now with the oil and gas industry, they don't have to sell. Hell, they're getting back into farming, buying new tractors, getting new fence, and being able to farm as a hobby rather than trying to make a living. You know, my family started out here as farmers, then miners, worked in American Zinc, owned and operated Burgettstown Farm Supply. Then we started a strip mine. Through that, we have learned firsthand that the DEP does not bend. They follow the rules and regulations that are put upon them. Don't ever doubt the DEP. I know firsthand that they are here to protect the environment. Are there mistakes made? Sure. But that's with every new industry. But you learn from them and you make sure that they don't happen again. Range Resources and Northwest, in my opinion, are two of the best companies out there. They care. They work with you. If you have questions, they're always there to help. Today is our future. The steel mills are gone. And this is our new opportunity for our town, our community, our brothers, our sisters, our families, our business owners. The opportunity is here for all. And for that, we should all be very grateful. Thank you.
PA-DEP, 79 Crossroads Road, Develop PA 1536. Tough act to follow, but I'm in a unique situation because speaking as a citizen tonight, I do work in Northwest, but I've lived here my whole entire life. And throughout the walks of meeting with Mark West, I can tell you what, yeah, they do things right how they do it. I have a personal commitment to making sure they build these things right. I'm involved in the design of these things. And when I'm not doing the Mark West thing, flying airplanes. And what kills me about this whole air quality issue is every time I pass over, I'm burning 10,000 pounds an hour. So I will blow any type of air quality study that you're saying you're going to do and try to mitigate out of the way. So the craziest, the biggest fear that we should have, unfortunately it's me, flying my airplane. That compressor site's nothing. If you hold it up, one by one, if you put them together, you're going to find that compressor site, probably what my aircraft will emit in just one flyby is probably 2-3 days worth. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it blows it out of the water for sure. Case in 135. And so anyhow, the other thing is what really frightens me is we have 5 levels of protection on these compressors. I was there whenever we designed it, so were you. But anyhow, the craziest part about it is the airplane I fly has one, and you put your families on those all the time. I fall asleep, bad things happen. These compressor sites, they shut themselves down. They have 5 levels of redundancy. Show me something that's built nowadays that has that much redundancy in it. And show me why Mark West isn't doing things right. And as a private citizen, I live 1,002 feet from the gas well. Okay, my son was 6 months old whenever this was. My water was first sampled from the VA one that I got back in 2008. I have a sister-in-law who's an environmental engineer, has her BE stamp, she tests my water rate. It has not changed. My son drinks out of water, I drink out of water. It's 2 years old now. And now on top of that, I can see 2 compressor sites from my house. Lowry in the back, whenever the leaves are off the trees, I can see it. And Welling, this illicit site that's an eyesore, or whatever it was called, is right out the front door. I don't even know it's there. Literally, these things do run quiet. We will achieve 60 decibels at the pencil. And right now, just that speaker right there is probably kicking out about 85. So I encourage you to seek the facts, find the facts before we just all go off on a tangent here and start making things up. And if you want to know the facts, you have our names. I'm a private citizen here, and I'm speaking as a private citizen tonight, but when I leave the microphone, I'm a Mark West employee. I have a vetted interest to make sure that it's done right. Because it's not only my reputation, it's not the company, it's my reputation. I've known all you my whole entire life. You've known me, you watched me grow up. I'm not here to pull a line on you. So I appreciate the VFW for allowing us to use this room tonight. And I appreciate your time and your support, obviously, as well.
And I too am a resident of Robinson Chapter, and I will do what my brother said. We have a large family farm, and we've had nothing but good good experience with Mark West. What I want to say is, I just want to go on record and say, I am one of those Robinson Township residents, so I am in support. There were some earlier speakers that were perhaps, say that they were representing Robinson Township residents, and perhaps that they were not in support of it, but I'm here to say that I'm one of the many Robinson Township residents that do support the gas industry, the expansion of Smith, and the endeavors of the other gas companies in the area. Thank you.
Lisa Gray.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Graves Marcusi. I live at 370 Timona Drive in Pittsburgh. And I am here on behalf, I was invited by several of my friends who live in Robinson Township and who will be directly impacted by this compressor station. We've heard a lot about jobs, and I just want to start by saying, of course, jobs are important. We can't survive without them. But what I'm here tonight is to impress that we need jobs and health. And no community, including these, should have to choose between them. Unfortunately, communities have not been given all the facts, and we've heard a lot of people say, let's get the facts, so let's talk about that. And that's because the oil and gas industry enjoys many exemptions, including the requirement to report to their toxic release inventory. Data on the oil and gas industry, including fracking, points to a very large toxic footprint. EPA has estimated that the industry emits 127,000 tons of hazardous air pollutants every year, including benzene, xylene, hydrogen sulfide, and more. And actually, they emit more than any other TRI industry except electric utilities. And the EPA investigations of natural gas development in Pavilion, Wyoming, and Dimmock, Pennsylvania, found toxic chemicals and methane present in groundwater and drinking water wells. In spite of these significant quantities of toxic chemicals used and released, the industry is one of the few energy or extraction sectors that do not report to the toxic release inventory. That means every year, companies are supposed to tell you what they've emitted to the air, the land, and the water. Because they don't have to do that, communities are making decisions without all the facts. For example, electric utilities, coal mining, and metal mining have all had to report to the TRI for nearly 15 years. The oil and gas extraction industry is also uniquely exempt from many key provisions of our major environmental laws, including the Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, or RCRA. Let me be clear, the reporting that is necessary and should happen for the oil and gas industry is just that. It's annual procedural reporting. It simply requires disclosure. These reports would provide a valuable resource to communities, lawmakers, and companies themselves. For example, if a gas company were to propose a facility in a municipality, a community member or local decision makers could pull up that company's past TRI reports and judge whether the facility would be a good neighbor. Or the company itself could compare its releases against other facilities and determine whether it is in line with industry standards. Above all, the petition would serve as a fully informed instrument for the public and industry responsibility. Too bad we don't have a TRI data report on Mark West and the other oil and gas operations in the area. I wonder if folks, including the Pennsylvania DEP, would be quick to approve this application for these dramatically increased emissions. The proposed approval of this plan would allow Mark West to increase the total operation to 10 compressor engines and a dehydrator that would more than triple the output. The expanded project would have the potential to emit dangerous air pollutants, including over 50 tons of nitrogen oxides, almost 60 tons of carbon monoxide, almost 45 tons of volatile organic compounds, along with additional tons of particulate matter, hazardous air pollutants, formaldehyde, benzene, and almost 92,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalents. Given the existing air quality impacts to the local community and Washington County region, these added potential emissions are far too great. And let me be clear. Yes, there may have been a reduction across the board, but not in all communities, and specifically not in Washington County. So let me be very clear about that. The emission standards or the emission reductions didn't happen here. Smith Township and the surrounding communities are already host to a number of existing and proposed facilities that emit or will emit large amounts of air pollutants, including well sites, natural gas processing plants, chemical and metallurgical plants, and power plants. Health protections should be the priority for all. Massive projects like this should be delayed until a time as health impacts are fully identified and proper protections are in place. In fact, the PA-DEP is nearly halfway into a year-long study of air quality near the Marcellus shale sites here in Washington County. It does not make sense for the DEP to approve vast increases to emissions in the very middle of this study, well before the DEP even knows the full impact that the shale development has had on Washington County's air quality. If the study ultimately reveals that the county's air quality is outside of the federal limits, the DEP's approval of this MarkWest project will make it much more difficult to fix the situation, and the health of Western Pennsylvania residents will suffer. It is therefore necessary that the PA-DEP delay its approval of this MarkWest project and fully consider all relevant information, particularly air quality and health studies, before proceeding with this project. Cumulative impacts must be considered and addressed with health protections as the priority. We need and deserve healthy communities and healthy workers. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Frank Vermillion. I live at 56 Point Pleasant Road, Baltimore, PA 15019. Spelling is Bermeulen. I live less than by air about a half a mile from where this proposed site's at, and I have no problem with it. Everything that MarkWest, the range, or the temporary water line companies coming in, and everybody has worked amazingly. I have had no problems. If there was a problem with the leases and I didn't like something, they immediately changed anything I didn't like and put in what I wanted. They put water lines where I wanted them instead of where they wanted them. I have no problems with these people. I don't know why anybody would have a problem with them. That's all I have to say.
We signed late and I had trouble reading.
That's all right. Telemarketers get around all the time too. It's Adam Peffer, PEFFER. Address is 297 Old Slurry Road, Charleston, PA. I'm for TP Electric. We're a contractor. We do a lot of work for MarkWest. We work with them. I've been working for them for about 5 years now. I actually live about a little over an hour east of here, so I understand as a local community who's been around a lot. This doesn't necessarily impact me and my home, but it does impact my family and also a lot of the gentlemen that we employ. We employ people from Avella, Washington, Burgettstown, when we put these compressor stations in. We built the original one in Smith Compressor. And I've also had the privilege of working for other energy companies, and I've seen the difference of what MarkWest does compared to what they do. They really go the extra effort to mediate noise and pollution and work hard at that. If we have a piece of equipment on site and it trips oil, we have to get it off site or give them repair. A lot's changed in 5 years. I know a lot of you see and hear things, and MarkWest is continuing to improve. It's benefited us work-wise. I've been thinking about electric compressors, like three-phase power, two compressor stations. I know for a fact MarkWest would love to put electric compressors in. There isn't enough out there at the time. But the other thing too to consider, electric compressors take power from somewhere, and that's probably a coal-fired gas plant or a coal-fired power plant. You're going to have emissions from that also. So, and the people, the ones that come down here, and I know you have concerns, and that's good. MarkWest listens. They've done a lot, and that's what inspired a lot of the change. And so you guys, you are making a difference. The compressors may come, they may not, but you are to be commended. And I understand that personally. When I come in and I come into work every day, I know it's a safe plant. I know I'm going to come with my 2 little kids. So I understand your concerns, but we really are privileged to have MarkWest as the energy company here and not someone else, because they do really put the extra effort in. So, thank you.
name is Elizabeth Cowden, spelled C-O-W, D as in Dominic, E, N as in Nancy. I live in Cecil Township at 158 Chafani Road. It's spelled C-I-A, double F as in Frank, O-N-I. As I said, I'm a resident. My husband and I are residents of Cecil Township. And I say this as an aside, I'm also a supervisor in Cecil Township. And I say this so that the public will know that not all supervisors in Cecil Township are anti-industry. I do support the gas industry. And I believe that I also represent the silent majority of Washington County residents, the 80% of residents of Washington County and Cecil Township who support the gas industry. Much of my thunder has been taken by others that came before me, so I'm going to keep this very short. I would like to just say a few things. My nephew lives and works in the Middle East, and his family lives there in one of the countries that's like the United States. Yet because of the concerns, his family never leaves their home without a chauffeur or someone at their side at all times. We are dependent upon countries in the Middle East that not only don't like us, but they hate us. And we have seen this in Boston and elsewhere, 9/11, and everywhere here in our own country, retaliation is coming. So it's very important, I believe, that we become independent of these countries, and we can only do that through the natural gas industry. Hydraulic drilling and fracturing have opened a whole new world for us, as people have already stated earlier, and have done so much for the economy of Washington County, for Pennsylvania, and for the United States. I'm not going to go into what it's done for our businesses. That's already been discussed. So I will simply say that our son and our grandson both work for the gas industry. My husband and I live on a farm. We do not have a lease, but we support the gas industry. I would say to you, do not kill the goose that lays the golden egg. And compressor stations are vital to our independence. I urge you to support and to approve the application. Thank you.
Next topic is Roger.
Frank's tradition, spelled S-P-R-N-I-S-A. I live at 251 Vance Drive, Burgettstown, Smith Township. I've been a resident here for 20 years. I moved out here because I love the country. I like it out here. I see a lot of changes going on as far as the oil and gas industry goes. But I would like to speak on behalf of Mark West and their efforts to increase the Smith compressor station. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I do air pollution monitoring as a trade, so I do know what they're talking about as far as their emissions. More specifically, my son works in the industry at a compressor station, and I'm excited to hear what he tells me they have to do within their compressor station to keep within compliance. I believe that Mark West will be a good neighbor. They have proven to be so far, and they will continue to be. But what I would like to encourage everybody to do is to have the DEP do their job. Mark West continue to improve their efforts to keep the air clean. We're never going to be at a zero emissions limit. It's never going to happen. It's just technologically not possible. But I do encourage people to be good stewards of the environment, as we're called to do in Genesis 2:15. Be vigilant, watch what happens.
Mark West, when you have concerns that are brought to your attention, address them. That's all we can ask. Thank you.
My name is Dorothy Bassett, and I live at 206 Jefferson Street in Midway, Pennsylvania. I wanted to testify at this hearing tonight for several reasons. First, I live 5 miles southeast of the proposed expanded compressor station. And second, my son attends a school that is not far west of the proposed expanded compressor facility. In both cases, concerns regarding airborne pollutants necessitate my presence here this evening. It is also important to recognize that hazardous air pollution does not discriminate whether you are a leaseholder or not, an industry employee or a DEP employee or not. I'm therefore speaking from a place of concern for all in this room, regardless of their position on this issue at hand. Given the fact that the documentation distributed about the facility shows that a significant amount of hazardous air pollutants will be emitted, this is of course of considerable concern. The notice of the public hearing indicated that among the list of substances emitted into the air by the proposed facility would be 6.74 tons of total hazardous air pollutants. In fact, many of the other emissions listed, including 1.9 tons of formaldehyde, 0.51 tons of benzene, that'll work, 43.6 tons of volatile organic compounds are also hazardous air pollutants. So to be fair, that 6.74 amount is probably a little bit confusing for the average reader. If we take a quick look at a short sampling of the substances that are planned to be emitted, we find included such chemicals as benzene, volatile organic compounds, such as toluene, xylene, acetone, and many others, formaldehyde. While time will not permit me, I'm going to have to, while time will not permit me to go into all of the potential effects of these various substances, just to take a small subset of all the chemicals to be emitted, and if we do this, if we take a small subset and examine their impact on human health, the health of the residents living near and downwind from the compressor station, we can learn the following. In the case of formaldehyde, according to the ATSDR, formaldehyde can produce nasal and eye irritation and pulmonary effects at low levels, headache and nausea at higher levels, and increased incidence of nose and throat cancer among workers exposed to formaldehyde on a regular basis. The Department of Health and Human Services and the International Agency for Research on Cancer recognize formaldehyde as a human carcinogen based on studies of inhalation exposure in humans and in animals. OSHA set a legal limit of 0.5 ppm of formaldehyde averaged over an 8-hour workday. However, per a conversation that I had several years ago with former DEP spokesperson Helen Humphreys, part of the problem with air issues is that the legal limit for exposure is often higher than the exposure needed to produce negative health impacts. Moreover, occupational exposure limits are based on an 8-hour workday, a 40-hour per week workweek. Residents living near this compressor station will be exposed to emissions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, month after month, year after year. Benzene. According to the ATSDR, brief exposure to very high levels of benzene in the air can result in death. Brief exposure to lower levels can cause drowsiness, dizziness, rapid heart rate, headaches, tremors, confusion, and unconsciousness. Low-term exposure to benzene can cause problems in the blood, bone marrow, and can lead to acute myeloid leukemia. The Department of Health and Human Services has recognized benzene as a confirmed carcinogen. The ATSDR states that long-term benzene exposure is also harmful to the immune system. OSHA has established a maximum allowable workplace exposure of 0.1 parts per million, averaged over an 8-hour day, 40-hour work week. However, what we are considering here is 24/7 exposure for nearby residents. Just the benzene exposure alone could easily compromise permanently the health of people living near this facility. Toluene. According to the ATSDR, the main impacts of toluene are found on the brain and nervous system. It can also result in harmful effects to the liver, kidneys, and lungs. Xylene is another chemical involved with this. According to the ATSDR, when air containing xylene is inhaled, the xylene is rapidly absorbed by the lungs, and the body retains between 50 to 75% of the xylene inhaled. Shorter-term and long-term exposure to high levels of xylene can cause irritation to the skin, eyes, nose, throat, dizziness, muscle weakness, and other neurological impacts. Studies on animals have shown that large amounts of xylene can cause harm to the liver, kidneys, lung, heart, and nervous system. This is just a sample, but naturally, those who will be most affected by these and other hazardous pollutants will be the ones who live in the closest proximity to the compressor facility, especially those who are downwind and those whose homes are at a lower level than the facility, since a number of these chemical pollutants are heavier than air and will tend to settle in valleys and depressions. However, given the rapidly increasing level of natural gas drilling and processing activity in the area, it is important not to view this installation in isolation, but to consider the contribution that it will make to the total degradation of air quality in the area, both now and in the future. To Senator Solibay's earlier point about Act 13, it's also important to note that a section of this act indicates that if you go to your physician because of health problems related to this and other gas drilling and processing facilities, your physician must request in writing to the drilling or processing company to find out what you were exposed to. When he finds out, he can treat you, but he must sign a confidentiality agreement indicating he will not tell anyone what you were exposed to. In this manner, you may be treated, but those around you who are also at risk cannot be warned. For all of these reasons, I am strongly opposed to the expansion of this facility. Moreover, I believe that additional steps should be taken to further reduce toxic chemical air emissions in the existing facility. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
14 Walnut Street, 15021. I'm speaking here tonight on two reasons. For one, I'm the fire chief of the township, and for the second reason, I'm also a business owner in this township. First, as the fire chief, I want to have everyone here know Mark West and also Ranger Resources have gone above and beyond to provide emergency response training to us. With annual updates and tours of their facilities, they are very knowledgeable, professional, and easy to get along with. Second, as a business owner, my business has grown over the past 5 years. We have a towing and repair service. I do not work directly with this industry, but the companies that I've worked with at Sunnyside and EAP in the township have grown, and they've gotten more vehicles, and that means more work for us. For the first time, I can say we are going to pay for our employees' health insurance, which we never could do before. So as here tonight, I'm in support of the expansion and also the industry. Thank you.
Next.
My name is Gerald Hatton, Hatton, resident Smith Township, 71 3rd Avenue, Appisburg, 15004. I'm Assistant Chief of the Township Fire Department, and I echo Chief Krisnick's comments on the training for emergency personnel. I'm in full support of this. This area hurts for employment, and we're just having a boom. And it's a great thing, I think, for the community. I thank the township supervisors for approving their end of this so far. They obviously see which way we need to move forward with our economy, our tax base. It's just a good thing all the way around. Thank you.
PA-DEP, I have a small hardwood lumber business adjacent to Mark West on one side. It would be on the south side. On the north side, I have a rail yard that joins their property. So we cross paths quite a bit. They have about a mile of pipeline going across my place. With range, we have a working unit that we're a part of. So over the past 5 years, we've had, I would say, good communication. good understanding, good information. Never a question that went unanswered. It's a relationship. It's being in business. I've been in business for 30 years. Before that, I was a school teacher before Cherry. You learn that you get things done if you learn how to communicate. It's a two-way street. I would say if you have a question, go to the source. Don't go to the guy next door. Call up Mark West, call up their office, call up Range, and insist on talking to somebody until you get the answer that you're looking for. Maybe not what you're looking for, but satisfies your question. When I've had questions, I'll call down the plant or call down their office and say, I have a question. What can you do? But they've been very good. Both companies have been very good at getting back with an answer. And when you get an answer, you can make it work for yourself. So 5 years of getting answers to questions has made it work for me. Because I can't sit on one thing. I have to move on. You can't dwell on something. And I offer to you, if you have any questions you want to talk to me, let's talk now. I will be glad to share my experience with these people. Maybe I can help you a little bit. But that's basically all I have to say. I thought Rob McHale called me yesterday and said, would you mind coming over and saying something? And really, we've heard a lot of good things tonight. But I would say that I've seen a great effort on the part of Mark West and Range to provide answers when people are willing to go ask questions. So my best advice to you would be to go to the horse's mouth when you have a question and get the information you need. That's all.
James Catney from Robinson Township. I'm been on 283 Catney Lane in Balger, PA 15019. And I'm a third generation on our farm. I just want to tell you that we support the Mark West and Range. And we've had a pretty good experience with them so far. And if you have any questions, they always answer. So I'm not going to dwell on anything, but good luck, and I hope everybody prospers from this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dale Risker, D-A-L-E-R-I-S-K-E-R. Handwriting's terrible. 666 Joffrey Bulger Road. Some people think I deserve the 666, but we'll work on that. But anyway, I want to tell you that I am the president of the South Point Marcellus Shell Chamber, but I'm here speaking for myself, Dale Risker. The only reason I mention that is that I have had numerous opportunities to go all over our state and our fellow states evaluating and talking about the Marcellus Shale oil and gas industry. When I'm speaking with the chamber, needless to say, I have to keep it somewhat in the middle. I can't give my own personal belief, but here I think I can. I own property in Robinson, and one of my properties adjoin a unit there. I have not had any problems, and it's a commercial property. On my property up in Bulger, so far they have not been involved with that area. Hoping that they do. Something interesting, I've heard a lot of comments today, and the term industry has popped up numerous times. My grandfather worked in a coal mine. My father worked in a steel mill. He's 92 years old. I worked in a steel mill. I'm a commercial pilot. I got a couple little businesses. The word industry is like a big pendulum. The days when my grandfather worked in the mines, there were hardly any regulatory bodies at all, and things happened, and they weren't good things. My father worked in the steel mill, I worked in the steel mill, things happen. It swings like a pendulum, good things and bad things. but it's industry. When we have industry, it provides money, education for your children and my children. If we don't have industry, our kids aren't going to school because we can't afford it. We're not buying a new car or a new truck. We're stuck in the depressed area that we have been in. This is a fortunate, unbelievable opportunity. I've heard a lot of some negative comments on the air pollution and the quality standards. And on those, I heard words like perhaps, maybe, or could be. When I looked at the slide presentation from the DEP, I didn't see anything saying perhaps the limits are only going to be this tolerance. It was positive. Now, I'm not saying the DEP and all the information that they presented is 100% accurate because I'm not qualified to make that statement. But they're here and their interest is, and some people that are against the whole DEP and progress, they believe that they're not here to help us. It's like the FAA. They always say, we're here to help you. They are here to help us. They might miss it, but they get it right more than they miss it. Industry misses it, but they get it right more than they miss it. In my flying, I've noticed a good bit, well, I've been flying for more years than I like to think, but whenever it first started up here in Mount Pleasant Township, I would fly and I flew with some of the old senators over and showed them the areas. And it was pretty limited to what was going on. Then all of a sudden the expansion goes and now I can fly and boy, they call it the iron circle. You go out and fly around and show people all the rigs and everything. One thing I noticed is whenever things started to get tough when some of the townships and some of the areas, what happened? They moved and are moving to Ohio. They don't need us, believe me. There's plenty of gas in other states, Ohio, West Virginia. I've been there, I've been to meetings like this. 5 or 6 people will show up. They're fortunate that they're wanting the gas and oil, and basically they'll give the farm away to get it there, and I don't agree with that. But I'm saying our area, the DEP that I know and have worked with in the past, again, it's all a learning progress. That pendulum swings left and right. We just need to keep it down the middle. I don't want an industry to come in and run away and ruin it for my children and my grandchildren. But I don't want the DEP or townships or regulatory bodies, any of them, to drive this industry away. Several comments have been made about being independent on energy. We can do that. We got the wherewithal right here underneath us in western Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, east Ohio. We got more energy than they have in all of the countries, their oil. They have raped us for years. You know, one time they drove around in camels and then now they're driving around in Mercedes. I want to see them on camels again. Why not us farmers benefit and the people here that can work and get jobs from them? That's about all. I'm probably pretty boring, but I have to apologize the way I look. I got a call. I was down scrubbing the floor and I got a call about this meeting, so just wanted to come up.
My name is Walsh. I reside at number 4 Martha Street, Sullivan, PA. I'm here to speak on behalf of Mark West and Marcellus Shale and the expansion of the compressor stations in Smith Township. I'm a representative, labor representative for Labor's Level 1058, and I'm also a resident, unlike quite a few people I heard here tonight, also a resident of Smith Township, Louisville, Pennsylvania. As a representative, I've seen, in the last 3 years in this industry, I've seen a lot of my members and their families with a great quality of life provided by this gas industry. Mark West, Range Resources, it's been good for us. I go out on jobs, I frequently visit jobs, and I can't even get out of my vehicle without having the proper safety equipment on. So I know how stringent they are when it comes to safety, and I do believe it's not only with the employees, I believe it's with the residents and the people that own the property. Other than that, I am a resident of Slovan here, and I've witnessed over the past few years the industry around here, the local businesses, they've been flourishing. They've been hiring more people, and I do believe this is a positive direction that we're going here, and I hope it keeps going for the next several years. And I do support the compressor stations and Mark West. Thank you.
Martin, I am the last speaker.
Martin, I know OED 1517 Woodruff Street, Pittsburgh, PA 15220. My name is Martin Noon. I'm with the Steamfitters Local Union 449 in Pittsburgh. We have 1,500 members, many of them out of Washington and Greene County, and we're training people to work in this industry. And I'm here to testify that of all the midstream companies involved in this gas industry, Mark West and Range Resources are the only companies that I know of using people who reside in Pennsylvania. For the parents and grandparents who live here, who are here tonight, is Mark West and Range Resources, along with the Steamfitters, who are working with Western Area Road Tech located on Route 519 and designing a new wellness school for your high school children to meet the needs of this industry. We as the Steamfitters are offering your children, your grandchildren, free training during the summer months where they can come to our training facilities up on Route 51 where they can weld free all day long. And it is with the help of Mark West and Range Resources who donate pipe to our organization and other materials that make these programs feasible. We're able to teach them the skills that will provide them the need to secure good paying jobs. And through these summer programs and with the help of Mark West and Range Resources, we have taken in a number of your children into our apprenticeship program who are now working in the oil industry. So I appreciate your time and patience on everybody speaking. If there's anything the Steamfitters can do for your children, we're on www.steamfitters Local Union 449. Thank you very much.
thank you. This will conclude the public hearing.